Welcome back. Okay, let's just dive right in. Today, we are tackling a topic that I know can feel like a giant, intimidating mountain for any researcher: the literature review. But we're going to change that. We're going to transform it from a chore into a full-on adventure. And I know what you're probably thinking. Ugh, the lit review. It's that dreaded chapter where you have to read like dozens of super dense articles and then just list what they said. One massive, tedious summary, right? We've all been there. But what if I told you that is completely, totally wrong? A literature review is not some passive chore. It's an active intellectual quest. It's not about just proving what we already know. It's about finding a genuine missing piece of a huge puzzle. It's your chance to have a real dialogue with the greatest experts in your field. So let's start right there by redefining our mission. In this first section, we're going to get to the heart of why the literature review is so much more than just a simple summary. Okay, so here's the formal definition. Now, the key phrase you've got to lock onto is critical synthesis. That doesn't just mean stitching a bunch of summaries together. No way. It means you're analyzing, you're evaluating, you're weaving all these different ideas together to create a new, coherent story that shows where the conversation is right now, and more importantly, where it needs to go next. The source material just puts it perfectly. The literature review is the cornerstone of scholarly inquiry. It's not some preliminary step you just get out of the way. It is the very foundation that your entire research project is built on. And without a strong one, the whole structure, it's going to be shaky. Now, what I love about this is how it frames the review as a tool. It's not just an assignment. It's your map. It's your compass. It's your shield. It situates your work, so you're not just shouting into the void, you know? It prevents you from accidentally redoing a study somebody already did back in 1985. And crucially, it's how you showcase your expertise. It's how you prove you belong in this conversation. All right, let's get practical. Section 2 is all about your search strategy. I want you to think of yourself as an explorer, and right now you need a plan. You need a map for the vast intellectual terrain that's laid out in front of you. And this right here illustrates a super clear path forward. Your quest starts by defining your keywords. Those are your compass points. Then you choose your databases, which are the territories you're going to explore. You search and screen, starting broad before you zoom in on the most promising areas. You snowball, and this is a classic explorer's trick, by looking at the references in really great papers. And finally, you document everything, creating a map that others can actually follow. Okay, here's a pro tip that is an absolute game changer. When you find a really important foundational article, don't just look at its references to see what came before it. Use the cited by feature to see all the new research that is built on top of it. It's like hitting fast forward and bringing the conversation right up to the present day. Okay, so you've gathered your sources. Now for the really fun part. Section 3 is about becoming an intellectual detective. You're not just collecting clues anymore. You're analyzing them for their strengths, their weaknesses, and all their hidden meanings.
And every good detective has a toolkit, right? Well, these questions are yours. You've got to ask, what's the core argument here? Was their method solid or is it kind of shaky? What do they do really well and where do they fall short? Are there any unstated assumptions or limitations? And this is the big one. How does this one piece of evidence connect to everything else I found?
So here's the crucial point. Synthesis is not summarizing. A summary is like listing the ingredients for a cake, flour, sugar, eggs. Synthesis is actually baking the cake. It's combining those ingredients to create something brand new, a coherent story that explains the state of the field. And you know what? There isn't just one way to bake that cake. You can organize your story thematically, grouping similar ideas together. You could tell it chronologically, showing how an idea evolved over time. Or you could even structure it methodologically, comparing how different researchers tackled the very same problem. These are your narrative strategies. And this all brings us to the climax of our quest. Section 4 is all about finding that research gap. This is the aha moment you've been working so hard for. The source describes this moment just perfectly as discovering the missing piece in a vast intellectual puzzle. This is it. This is where all your hard work pays off. You've mapped the terrain, you've analyzed the clues, and now you see what everyone else has missed. And that missing piece can come in a few different forms. Maybe the methods everyone's been using are flawed. Or maybe a popular theory just doesn't explain a new phenomenon. Maybe an entire population has been totally ignored in the research. Or hey, maybe the findings are just all over the place and someone needs to figure out why. These are the gaps you are hunting for. And that leads us right into our final and, honestly, the most empowering step. Section 5 is about making your unique contribution. You've found the missing piece, now it's time for you to place it in the puzzle. This is so important. The gap isn't just a fun little discovery, it is the entire reason your research needs to exist. It's the answer to that big "so what" question. You aren't just doing a study because you're interested. You're doing it because you've proven it needs to be done. Here's a really simple, crystal clear example of this in action. Let's say you've reviewed all the literature on digital learning and you suddenly notice that almost none of it focuses on elderly populations. Boom. That's an empirical gap, and that is the perfect justification for your study to go in and fill it. So, if you remember nothing else from this, please remember this. The single most important goal of your literature review is to build an undeniable, compelling case for why your research matters. It's not a summary of the past, it's a launchpad for the future, for your future work. So, I'll leave you with this final thought. Forget the chore, embrace the quest. Go out there, engage in that dialogue with the experts, and become that intellectual detective. What missing piece of the puzzle will you discover?